So this week we travel. No, this week. This week, eyes are watering. This week we travel from Houma to Nolens.
We visit New Orleans.
We end up crossing Lake Pontchartrain.
We have a little bit of engine issues.
Engine slash fuel, fuel slash engine. Oh, a little bit of both.
This is our trawler, Hobo, a 1984 Sundowner Tug 30.
We are on an adventure to complete a 6,000-mile journey called America's Great Loop.
We spent 5 nights in Houma, Louisiana, and now that the work week's over, it's time to toss the lines and get underway.
No need to breathe. I'll be sneaking under it. All right, Captain. Thank you for coming in. You have a safe trip and a blessed morning.
We are currently west of the Mississippi and need to get east of the Mississippi, which means we need to take a lock onto the Mississippi and then take a lock off to Mississippi.
There are typically 2 locks we'd be able to choose from to get onto the Mississippi from this side, but one of them is closed because of the low water levels, which means all traffic will funnel through the one operational lock. So
We found an anchorage that's about 10 miles short of the first lock, which should make for a better travel day tomorrow.
we saw our first airboat, and it was pretty cool. And then another popped out from a canal, then another popped out behind that, and then before you know it, it was just loud. We dropped the anchor, and then found out that it was right along the path that they take for the tours. But they shut down around sunset, and we had a quiet night.
We woke up to some fog in the bayou. It was very eerie. It was a different type of fog than that we had seen on the Illinois River and the Mississippi. It was more dense and felt like it was just there, whereas before it rolled in from shore or originated over the water.
I'd like to point out there are no filters or color corrections on any of these shots. What the camera's picking up is how it looked. The fog stayed with us all morning. It was several hours until it started to clear, and at that point we were approaching Algiers Lock, the first of two that we needed to clear that day.
I know we've said this before about how unpredictable locks can be. We were very surprised as the Algiers lock ended up being a pass-through. We followed right behind the wakes of a couple of tows and actually one kayaker. And now we're back on the Mississippi.
For the very first time, we will be going against the current, which ultimately wasn't very bad at all. We had 5 or 6 miles to travel, and we were fighting a current somewhere between 1 and 2 miles an hour.
The Port of New Orleans is international. Majority of the downbound traffic we saw with the tows was heading here. Now for the first time we started seeing ocean-going vessels.
One of the tows that we followed through Algiers Lock was also headed to the Inner Harbor Lock. So we followed them, and they were able to handle all the radio communications, the bridge raising and the lock tendering, and we just followed in their wake.
Unfortunately, Folgers was not roasting when we passed by.
We radioed the Seabrook Railroad Bridge, asking how long the train would be stationary and blocking the ability to lift. They said they had no clue, and it could be a while. We waited about 10 minutes, decided we would go the other route, started pulling anchor, and as luck would have it, the train was starting to move, and we were through in about 5 minutes.
Once we were past the bridge, we made it to Lake Pontchartrain. We didn't know what to expect. We heard that Lake Pontchartrain could be pretty spicy, but we had glassy water.
Lake Pontchartrain is pretty large. It's about 24 miles north to south here, and we're about 4 miles from the closest shore. It just so happens that 3 boats decided that our line was the best line to take, so I thought that was kind of funny.
We saw another looper crossing the lake. Made it safely to the marina, and here's where we'll stay and hang out with family for Thanksgiving week.
Before we left on the trip, we actually pre-stocked most of the maintenance items that we would need. So oil filters, fuel filters, belts, impellers, oil, stuff like that. We did the same maintenance right before we left, and we are just about 200 hours in. So this was pretty perfect timing, really. And first thing on the list is an oil change. Hobo has a 12-volt pump that we can use to extract the old oil out of the oil pan. Takes about 2 gallons, a little less, so it doesn't take long. It's pretty quick and easy. Alright, so this is the zinc we've had on the heat exchanger for about 2 years now, but it's always been fresh water. It looks pretty darn solid. This is a brand new one. We're going to switch to a brand new one, simply so that we can kind of monitor exactly what 1 month looks like versus 2 versus 3, and kind of get an idea for what salt water does to the heat exchanger anode. So the Hobo engine room is not very large. This is the 3rd or 4th hatch that we have to open, but this is the side that gives us access to the Raycor fuel filter. Over the last few weeks, we've been monitoring a small drip from the fuel injection pump on the side of the engine. It was pretty minor, and the diesel diapers were able to grab it in the catch pan. And during this exercise here, we decided to go ahead and tighten up one of the bleed screws. And of course, it instantly snapped and sheared off. So right now, we've been struggling and trying to find the part, and till we do, we're not going anywhere.
Just because the boat isn't moving doesn't mean we can't.
The calliope is a steam-powered organ. It just so happens that the Natchez from the Port of New Orleans happens to have one.
Got a little taste of New Orleans. We popped down to the Riverwalk and walked around the French Quarter.
The French Quarter is the oldest neighborhood in New Orleans. So the French Quarter is French because France actually claimed Louisiana in the 1690s, well before the Louisiana Purchase.
The church? It's a church?
There were a couple fires that burned down most of the city in the late 1700s, so most of the buildings here are from the 1800s, which is still pretty darn old. And Bourbon Street gets its name from France's ruling family at the time, the House of Bourbon. I did some light research on the calliope, and it sounds like its first major use was within the circus. It would be on a wagon, and they would play music as the circus entered town. It would attract people and garner attention, and did well for the circus. Eventually, that same mindset was then to put the calliope on top of steam boats, being they already had a steam engine, and when the boat would enter or leave port, it would again attract and garner attention. Now, of course, I knew none of that when we were actually visiting New Orleans, but as we were walking around, we heard some large pipe-like music. Couldn't tell if it was live or over speakers, so we sought it out. And I guess to our surprise, the calliope still works. It drew us in, and we were entertained.
So next week, we go from brackish water to what should be full salt. Full salt. Maybe we'll fix that engine problem. Does it look like I'm crying? Like I am tearing up. I can see your tears. It is windy here.
Cold.
Well,
We have the heat on.
relative cold.
No
It's
snow though.
it's 20s and snowing at home. And here it's supposed to be 64. And we're cold. All right.